So I'm here in my hotel room with all the lights on. I hope I'm lit well enough. I had to lay one down and point it at myself over here. But as my current video is uploading, right now I want to read through the community note that was also just tweeted and posted by Niantic. So this is about rebalancing raids and trainer battles, and I'm excited to get into it. Trainers, in our previous community note, we outlined some changes that came to Pokemon GO that affect your Pokemon's effectiveness in battle. We have similar news to share today detailing raid battle and move balance changes and moveset additions to the game, which you may have seen referred to in our most recent Sinnoh region update. So again, in the last video, we talked about new moves being added to Pokemon's move pools and then balance changes to moves. And this is a great thing to see because we've seen a metagame develop in Pokemon GO now. We know which Pokemon are great in Great League, which Pokemon do well in Ultra League and Master League, and Niantic also sees that and is making adjustments to either balance certain things out, make Pokemon more powerful, or rein some Pokemon in. And as long as they continue to do this, it's going to keep the metagame fresh, it's going to keep the metagame exciting, and hopefully also keep the metagame balanced, which is important in a competitive gaming environment. Also, my Go Plus is just going off nonstop here in San Francisco. For the raid battle changes, the Pokemon featured will now have an HP increase to offset some of the damage increases made to the attacks of other Pokemon in the last year. So that's what we talked about in the last video. Raid bosses are harder to offset those changes made to damage. We hope this will provide greater overall challenge, as well as encourage trainers to group up to win. I want to quickly jump in and interrupt myself here. To mention that raid bosses had their HP increased by 20%, and that more or less offsets the damage increase, which super effective damage was increased from 1.4 to 1.6, and we've done the math now, and that equates to only a 14-ish% increase in actual super effective damage. So overall, raid bosses are slightly harder than they were before super effective damage was increased. And I hear you, I hear all the players out there who are unhappy with this change because it means more work, or certain bosses aren't even possible now for certain rural players. And I'm in no way defending this change, but I just want to share kind of how things were explained to me, and that's that raids are meant to be a group activity, and well, that's basically what they're trying to get back to encouraging. There will always be soloable raid bosses in tier 1 through 3, and Deoxys attack form still, but the goal of raids is to get people together, and I know unfortunately not everyone has people to get together for raids, but here we are. These buffs do also come as a nerf to generalists, Pokemon that don't deal super effective damage, so things like Mewtwo or Rayquaza that just have high DPS overall are not as good of raid counters as Pokemon that actually do deal super effective damage. And I feel like that in a way helps players who aren't super familiar with type effectiveness. It gives you more incentive, more reason to learn it now, because those Pokemon with type advantage are going to be better counters. So at least there's that. But again, I know, not the best changes for rural players. Sorry. When it comes to balance changes and moveset additions, we've been keeping an eye on how well some Pokemon are performing in battle compared to others. This means adjusting the power of some moves in trainer battles and giving Pokemon new moves that improve their success in matches. So again, they're balancing things out to keep the meta stable and interesting, and wow, so much going on here. The following trainer battle moves will receive damage changes. Fast attacks, Waterfall, Smackdown, Shadow Claw is getting an energy increase, not a damage change. Razor Leaf, Confusion, Frost Breath, and Ice Shard. And among charge attacks, Body Slam, Iron Head, Dazzling Gleam, thank you, and Psyshock. For standardization, the damage from Ice Beam will serve as the new baseline for Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. For standardization, the damage from Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch will be set to the same level. These moves all had slightly different damage, but now they've been standardized and set to the same thing. We'll go deeper into the changes and what actually has changed, how the numbers have changed, a little later on. Moveset additions. This is amazing to see. I love seeing this from Niantic. I love that they're taking an active role in managing and monitoring the metagame for PvP. This is really important for a competitive environment. It means they are absolutely paying attention to what we're doing in PvP, and they want to make it more balanced and more fun. So, there's a full list here. Let's just quickly go through them. Arbok, Dragon Tail. This edition provides Arbok with a hard-hitting, fast attack that should help it stand out among Poison-type Pokemon. Okay, interesting. Clefable now has Meteor Mash, provides Clefable with a powerful Steel-type charge attack to help deal with other Fairy-type Pokemon. Making Clefable stronger should also make Dragon-type Pokemon less overpowering, so they're attempting to balance and rein in some of the powerful Dragon-type Pokemon. Across every league, Great, Ultra, and Master, we see Dragon-type Pokemon as some of the strongest Pokemon. We have Altaria, we also see Flygon and Kingdra quite often. In Ultra League, Giratina is one of the best Pokemon, probably the best Pokemon. And then in Master League, you have things like Rayquaza and Dragonite, so Niantic are actively trying to create better counters to these meta threats. Ninetails Psyshock. This edition provides more type coverage for Ninetails, giving it overall versatility. Alolan Ninetales also learns Psyshock for more type coverage, especially in matchups with Poison-type Pokemon. So they're giving Alolan Ninetales especially moves to counter some of its counters. This is great stuff, Niantic. Wigglytuff now learns Ice Beam, again buffing a targeted counter to Dragon-type Pokemon. As a Fairy type, it's going to take reduced damage, plus now it has Ice Beam to deal with Dragon types even better. Alakazam learns Fire Punch, a relatively fast charge attack that adds additional coverage. A lot of Alakazam's moves were slow. It now has a faster option, which should make it more interesting. Machamp has Rock Slide for additional coverage against Flying-type Pokemon. It does have Stone Edge as a legacy move, but now it can actually learn a Rock-type move for better coverage. Muck learns Thunder Punch to allow more early Protect Shield pressure and counter Water-type Pokemon that currently dominate the Great League, like Azumarill. They are giving us counters to the best Pokemon. Lowland Muck now learns Snarl, a better Dark-type fast attack, and should be able to compete with Giratina and other Dragon types, or Ghosts. It's a targeted buff to allow for a Giratina counter. Weezing learns Thunderbolt for additional coverage and helps it stand out among other Poison-type Pokemon. Starmie learns Thunder and Ice Beam. Jinx gets Focus Blast. Kabutops Waterfall, it now has a Water-type fast attack. Aerodactyl learns Rock Slide, gives it a powerful Rock-type charge attack. Snorlax learns Outrage. Alright. Ampharos Power Gem, a relatively rare Rock-type move that is not currently utilized by most Electric-type Pokemon. Natural fit for Ampharos makes it especially powerful in matchups where it's already strong, again against Flying-type Pokemon. This will be interesting that they're adding these sort of coverage moves or different type moves onto these Pokemon, especially as we continue in the Sylph League Arena season. Eventually we'll see a cup that has electric Pokemon included, and you'll see things like Ampharos probably being an interesting pick because of that Power Gem that not a lot of other electric types have access to. Ursaring Shadow Claw, this Ghost-type fast attack will provide the normal-type Ursaring an advantage in Ultra League, where Ghost-type Pokemon like Giratina frequently make an appearance. So again, targeted counters towards some of the biggest meta threats. Mantine Bullet Seed, wow, helps win the matchup against other Water-type Pokemon. Houndoom Flamethrower, a faster charge attack that helps solidify Houndoom as a strong Dark and Fire-type Pokemon. Donphan Mudslap currently lacks a Ground-type fast attack. Finally, Mudslap on Donphan. That's going to make a bigger impact, I think, in raids, where Donphan will now be a better Ground-type attacker. Miltank with Thunderbolt and Ice Beam helps with type coverage in the Great League against bulky Water types like Azumarill, and quick Dragon types like Altaria. Again, more targeted counters. Raikou can learn Shadow Ball. Currently, oh, I love this. Raikou Shadow Ball, Entei Ironhead, Suicune Ice Beam. These Pokemon only have moves. Raikou and Entei only have moves of their type, Electric or Fire, so they're diversifying their movesets, giving them more coverage or interesting moves, especially moves that are not common on Pokemon of that type right now. Shadow Ball, not really common on a lot of electric types. And these should help against a lot of meta threats like Giratina. Suicune now gets Ice Beam, which will help it compete with Dragon types. Ho-Oh learns Hidden Power, which makes it very versatile. That'll be helpful probably in Master League and definitely in Ultra League. Hidden Power is a great move because it can cover any type depending on what type of Hidden Power you have. So you can TM your Ho-Ohs right now to Hidden Power and just at least check, see if you can find different types of Hidden Powers among your Ho-Oh, because depending on what type it has, it'll be good in different matchups. Again, we'll go into this in more detail. Ludicolo gets Ice Beam to help with Dragon types. There you go. They are really trying to help with dragon types here. Chimecho gets Psyshock, a psychic type charge attack that will make Chimecho a more potent and competitive Pokemon. Salamence gets Bite, which will capitalize on strength and differentiates it from other dragon type Pokemon. Right now we don't really see a lot of Salamence because it kind of is just a lesser version of other dragon types right now. Now that it has Bite, it differentiates itself. Luxray gets Hidden Power. Oh, hello. I might have to TM my shiny ghost right now. Roserade now learns Grass Knot, which is going to be great, especially in PvE against raids and gyms. That's going to make Roserade an even better grass-type attacker. And then will also be a faster move to use in PvP, so we could see Roserade moving up. Honchkrow gets Sky Attack. Sky Attack is a great flying-type move. So Honchkrow is going to be a very interesting Pokemon in PvP. Drapion now learns Bite, a strong Dark-type fast attack to go along with, I think right now it has Infestation and Poison Sting or Poison Jab. So now it gets a Dark-type attack, making it more versatile. Magmortar can learn Psychic. That's unique among Fire-type Pokemon. Togekiss gets Flamethrower. Wow. Better suited against Steel-type Pokemon, which are going to counter it with Flamethrower. And then Porygon Z can learn Blizzard. Again, a counter for Dragon-type Pokemon. So, personally, I'm really excited to see Niantic making these kinds of changes, these targeted changes for the metagame. And hopefully this is something they'll continue to do as we see maybe some new Pokemon will become the biggest threats in different leagues. And every once in a while, it would be great to see them make these kinds of changes and give us better counters to certain Pokemon, give us more options to use across different leagues. So, I think we have a dinner scheduled very soon, so we're going to do that. But oh man, I'm excited to dive into this and see how this affects different metagames, see how it affects the Twilight Cup, Great League in general, and just all leagues. I'll put a link in the description if you want to look at actual numbers of how things have changed. Whew. Good stuff, Niantic. Balance, metagames, I love it. We're on our way to esports. Alright, now, quickly I want to go over how these actual changes impact some of the metagame. As my hard drive just flops around and unplugs itself here. Briefly, let's talk about Ultra League. There are now a lot more viable Giratina counters. We have Ursaring, now that Shadow Claw has been buffed slightly. Snorlax is a great one because, well, with Outrage and Lick, it has two moves that are going to deal super effective damage to Giratina. It'll outlast it in a lot of battles. And Suicune with Snarl and Ice Beam is now another great Giratina counter. Giratina was like a huge threat, almost a must-have in Ultra League, so we have a lot more options to deal with it now. In Great League, a lot of Pokemon have moved up in tiers. Tropius, I know it's a hard one to find, a hard one to get a hold of, but with Razor Leaf being buffed so significantly, it is the highest DPS move, fast move in PvP now. Tropius has been buffed all the way up to like top tier levels. Granted, I haven't had a chance to test it yet, but in theory, on paper, in a lot of matchup simulations, it wins against many of the best Pokemon in Great League. Bastiodon is another new one that makes a high tier appearance, and that's not because of move changes, that's just because it was finally released in-game. It is, however, a very low max CP, so you do need good IVs on your Shieldon or Bastiodon to get up to 1500 CP. But with the buff to Smackdown, a Smackdown Flamethrower Stone Edge Bastiodon is a very good Pokemon for the Great League. And now more specifically, I want to talk quickly about the Twilight Cup, because it's coming up. I know a lot of people are preparing for it, and this definitely changes some things. A lot of Pokemon that are eligible for the Twilight Cup are affected by these changes. Notably, Tyranitar with the Smackdown buff is now much better. I have always liked Tyranitar for Twilight Cup, and with the Smackdown buff, I think a lot more people are kind of coming on board with that idea. Confusion has been buffed, so Venomoth, something I was holding on to as maybe a little pocket pick. Confusion on Venomoth makes it a great Toxicroak counter. Drapion has gotten a lot better with the addition of Bite. I think previously we ranked Skuntank and a Lowland Muck as the two kind of top tier Dark and Poisons, but Drapion is pretty much right up there with them now that it has Bite and it has Aqua Tail, which is unique among the Dark and Poison types. Regular Muck now learns Thunder Punch, but still isn't a better choice than a Lowland Muck or Skuntank or Drapion against Azumarill. Now remember, all these changes are only kind of the surface, the obvious changes that we can see from numbers. as certain Pokemon move up in viability and become bigger threats, for example in Great League, things like Tropius and Bastiodon, if we start seeing those Pokemon more regularly in battles, then counters to those Pokemon are also going to move up in the tier list and become more common, more desirable. And then lastly, as far as raids and gyms go, really not a whole lot has changed there. The addition of new moves to certain Pokemon's movesets is typically more PvP focused from what we've seen, from what we just read through, but things like Donphan are now more viable as actual ground types for raids, for gyms, and hopefully that helps with accessibility for players who maybe don't have a good Groudon or don't have any Groudon yet. But for the most part, these changes are focused on balancing PvP, and hopefully this is something that will continue into the future as maybe new Pokemon become the biggest threats. I just like these kind of updates, and the amount of information that was shared about the reasoning behind all the changes is another great thing that I want to see more of from Niantic. So, stay tuned. More coming. A little bit more from here in San Francisco. See you soon.